I got 8 crops that you'd be stupid if you don't plant them right now in May, because it's the best time to sow these seeds. So go ahead and grab your seed packets, some labels, and let's jump right in. And the first seed that you must sow in May is your cucumbers. They prefer to be started a little later in the season than too early when it's still cold. So right now is the perfect time to sow some of these. If you're going to direct sow your cucumbers, then it's very important that you wait till the temperature is 29 degrees or 85 Fahrenheit before you plant your cucumbers into your garden. Otherwise, they're going to take very long to sprout. Now, direct sowing cucumbers is not my favorite method because it delays time when you could be harvesting. When you should be planting plants that are 3 or 4 weeks of growth, when the temperature finally hits that 30-degree mark, you're wasting time planting seeds that late in the season. I like sowing them in a seedling cell tray because using seedling cell trays has a little secret that comes with it. And a little trick that helps speed up cucumber is making use of a heat mat. So instead of taking the seeds 14 to 21 days to germinate, it'll only take them 5 or 7 days. My second must sow right now is my favorite garden gold, and it is squash. So when it comes to planting, there are 2 types of squash that you can sow, or you could plant both of them. There's the winter squash, like this one, and then we have the summer squash, which is your zucchinis. Although growing a winter squash will take up more space, I think it tastes way better. And also, there's a lot more varieties that you could buy. Last year, I grew the sweet dumpling squash that you're seeing, and they have 1-pound fruits that are super sweet and creamy. It's just like you're having some of nature's candy. The best squash, I would say. Now it seems like this package is empty of seeds, or is it? When planting squash, the pointy sides of the seed should be facing down, as it's where the roots will grow from. You can also soak squash seeds before planting them because they are a big seed. But I'd only soak these seeds for about 12 hours and then plant it. Another trick that helps speed up germination is to use some of these. So what I'll do with it is take a seed like this one and then just come with your, and on the pointy end of the seed or just near it, make a tiny cut like that. That right there, and that will allow the moisture to get into the seed faster so that it'll sprout fast. Squash seeds will also appreciate the use of a heat mat because they too will germinate faster. Homegrown potatoes is better than any potatoes you could buy, and right now is the perfect time to put them in the ground for our summer crop. These potatoes right here is a good example of an unprepared potato. To prepare these potatoes, you would have to take these shoots off, and we have a full detailed video that I'll link to in the description. But once you got your potatoes prepared, it's literally foolproof to plant. You can start by digging a trench, and depth is not a big deal. 4 to 8 inches is optimal. Then what you can do is place your potato in the trench so the sprouts are facing up, and space each potato apart so they're around 6 to 12 inches away from the next potato. And then you can backfill the trench. So once your potatoes is planted, make sure to give them a good thick layer of straw, hay, or grass mulch because they hate the competition of weeds and they won't produce good if you don't stop the weeds. Now simply just breaking off these sprouts isn't the right way to prepare them. If you want big yields, then I highly suggest you watch the video that I linked. Right next to potato is his big brother, tomato, the summer classic to plant in May. If you're still trying to plant from seeds this late in the season, try planting a determinate tomato variety like this Roma tomato. There's also other varieties of determinate tomatoes that you could plant. Determinate tomatoes won't grow as tall, unlike the other type of tomato, undeterminate, so you won't need a whole tall 6-foot trellis setup, but it will help if you use a little tomato cage for support. The next one is onion. You could plant them multiple different ways, from seeds, seedlings, or you could plant them from onion sets. which basically just means a mini bulb. You can't plant onions right now from seeds because it would be too late, but you can still plant them from onion sets or from seedlings if you could get them. We plant our onions 4 inches apart from each other, and you can plant them by taking the small bulb and pressing it into the soil until they are buried, and the pointy side where the shoot comes out from the onion is slightly just below the surface. After you've sown the bed, you can take a rake and pull back to cover the onions, and also, before you can leave them, you should give them mulch as well. There are 2 different types of beans. Number 1 is the pole bean, which grows tall, and then you have a bushing type of bean that grows outward. And if you want to plant beans in containers or grow them without a trellis in your garden, then it's important that you get the bush type. To sow beans, you can plant 3 to 5 plants in a bucket, or you could sow them in rows in your raised bed. Once you finish sowing beans, cover it back with some soil, and then after, give it a good water. And when they pop up, make sure that you place down mulch so that it keeps the soil moist for the entire growing season. The next summer crop to sow is amazing. Corn. It's yet another summer classic crop that is harvested from July to September. And what better time to sow it than right now? But wait, pause! Smash that subscribe button please so we can get to 100,000 subscribers by the end of this year. So do it now. Okay, thank you very much. When choosing a packet of corn, it's important not to make the ignorant corn planter mistake. When we first bought some corn seeds, what we had not known at the time is that there are 3 types of corn. So you have popping corn, and then you have flour corn, and you have sweet corn. So when we grew the corn and tasted it, it wasn't sweet as you'd expect a normal corn to taste. We had bought the corn varieties that were used to make flour and popcorn. Silly mistake. And choosing colorful corn varieties is a mistake that new gardeners could make. Now we know it's important to buy a sweet corn variety and make so it says so on the pack. This year, I'm planting the early sun gold hybrid. Corn, just like cucumber, needs heat to germinate, so it's in the same tray here as with my cucumber. The temperature of the soil needs to be 90 Fahrenheit for an ideal germination, or 32 degrees Celsius. If you're struggling with some pests, then the next crop is best sown a little later in spring, like right now. Cabbage, it's pests to many creatures. Slugs like them when they're wet. Flea beetles like them when they're young. Cabbage moth like them anytime. It could be very hard to keep them protected. That's why I have a trick and a tip for you. The tip is that because cabbage can tolerate some heat, you could plant them a little later in the season after some of your rain have passed and the weather starts to warm up. And by doing that, you'll avoid some of the early spring pests that like attacking a cabbage. As for the cabbage moth, here's the trick. You could use a row cover or an insect netting and place it over your cabbages to prevent the cabbage moth. It's very important that you make sure you tuck down that insect netting and hold it down at the base of all the sides of your bed. That way the cabbage moth don't sneak under, because they have done that to my cabbages before. In my seed starting tray, I'll be sowing these 2 cabbage, Glory of Caution, and I grew last year. Very good sauerkraut with its reasonable size heads. Premium late flat Dutch cabbage. This cabbage is expected to grow from 10 to 20 pounds. Tweakers around to come and check our seed planting here. Yeah, you like it, don't you? Right here is a special corn just for chickens, different from the one I'm planting, but Tweaker would like if peck some emojis and drop it in the comment section for her. When I'm planting my seeds, I like to make sure I'm using some high quality mix that has good drainage, is fluffy, and has good nutrition. And I also like to add some secret stuff in it. If you want, that video is gonna be right here. Goodbye!